Welcome to your messages for the rest of February 2026. Hi, everybody. I'm Devin Dewar. This is your all signs reading. And as always, I will do bonus messages at the end that are meant to clarify any messages that come through for you. So definitely check those out. And I do like to encourage you to listen to all 12 signs because you do have all 12 signs in your birth chart. So even if you don't have any major planets there right now, there might be something aspecting an area of your chart. And if you get some angel bumps while you're listening to a sign you don't normally think about as part of your major three, your sun, moon, or rising, there's a message for you. Your spiritual team, your angels, your guides, your passed away loved ones know when you're going to hear these messages. So definitely make a point to write down or notice anytime that something really resonates with you and just leave behind whatever doesn't resonate with you. Like I said, we're going to go through all 12 signs and I'll do your bonus messages. But first, I wanted to make sure and invite you to a free event I'm hosting on Wednesday, February 18th at 11 a.m. Central. If you can't make it live, you can get the recording. You just have to sign up at the link below. But it's called How to Stop Missing the Signs. And this is because one of the biggest complaints I hear from my clients, my students, my community members, the people I coach one-on-one is that they feel like they're missing signs from their spiritual team. Like I said, this is your guardian angels, passed away loved ones, your higher self, your ascended masters and guides, even spirit animals. So how do you stop missing the signs? In this free event, I am going to give you my 5 top ways that I make sure I notice the signs from my spiritual team to help you apply these methods and get started feeling confident that your spiritual team is always with you and they always have messages and signs for you. They're always available to guide you. And so if you feel like you're missing the signs, or even if you're somebody that's always feeling like you always get signs, you always see numbers, you might want to check this out anyways, just for some tools to take it to the next level, because things are coming online for all of us in bigger ways. All of us, those of you who have been connecting and using our intuition our whole life, are going to higher levels. So this is for anybody who would like to join in. Like I said, please just RSVP at the link below. That's the only way to be able to join the Zoom call live or get the recording sent to you. And I'm also going to be talking about how I am reopening my really popular class, How to Connect with Your Spiritual Team Temporarily. The enrollment is open now, but will close on February 28th because I'm taking a small cohort of students through my hybrid class where we will have 7 modules teaching you how to connect with your spiritual team, your guardian angels, passed away loved ones, higher self, and more. And then we're going to have 2 live Zoom calls where I will be available to answer your questions and go over the topics. If you can't make those Zoom calls, of course, you can get the recordings for you. And I will be available via email to answer questions the whole way through as well during the opening of this course. So if you want to catch this chance to be a part of it, don't hesitate to sign up for the link below for the free event, and you'll get more information there because doors will close to that class on February 28th because class will begin. And I want to make sure we create a cohort of students that are ready to really engage. I won't be reopening this class at all in 2026, so I would love to see you there. But either way, definitely sign up for the free event below so you can learn those 5 ways to stop missing signs from your spiritual team. All right, let's jump into these messages for the rest of February, and we will start with Aries, go all the way through all 12 signs, and then I'll do your bonus messages at the end. And just don't forget to write down anything that resonates with you with any of the 12 signs. If you get some angel bumps, if you hear a horn in the background, do you ever have that where you hear somebody honking or a doorbell or a train in the distance right when a message resonates with you? That message is for you. So we're going to jump into the Aries first, like we always do, and of course, move through these signs and get the messages for the rest of February. Aries, what do we have for the rest of February for you guys? Now, you know what? I want to stop for a second. I did want to mention something. So at the time these messages will be airing, we will have Saturn in Aries. So that made me think of it when we were starting with Aries. But by the end of February, on February 28th, there will be a stellium in Pisces. So we'll have the Sun, Mercury, and Venus in Pisces. So that's, again, another stellium. We've been dealing with 3 or more planets in the signs we've been in all along. Mars won't quite be there yet, but we will have Mercury going retrograde right at the end of the month too. In fact, if you want to join me on the 25th of February, I'm doing a live with Chris Reck from Minopon Tarot. So make sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you're notified, or the notification button. We're going to do a live on Mercury retrograde, all 12 signs. So I'd love to see you there as well. But there will be a stellium there in that Pisces energy, but Saturn will be in Aries. Neptune's already there. We will have already gone through that big conjunction of Neptune and Saturn in Aries at 0 degrees. Also, we will have gone through the first of the 2 eclipses and that we're having at the beginning of this year. And, it's just going to be a big shift by the time we get to the end of February. So I didn't want to forget to give you that heads up because it is a very different energy moving for the rest of February than it was when we started the month. All right. Thank you for your patience with that. And let's get back over to the Aries so that you guys can see what do we have for you guys for the rest of February. Aries, for the rest of February, we have 9 of Water. Your wishes come true. Concerns fade away. A love of life. It feels like a breath of fresh air for you guys. I think, there's going to be some interesting things happening, but you've had Neptune in Aries for a little bit. Now you'll have Saturn there, and I think you're going to start to see things really shift. Your next card for the rest of February is the Star card, inspiration, fulfillment, and faith. So there, you're going to be getting your wishes. You're going to be the star of the show, whatever that show is for you. I will be pulling that all together after we get your 3rd card from the daily guidance deck. We have the wedding card. Are some of you getting married? Now, quick reminder here, I read intuitively, not literally. So not everybody is literally getting married. Obviously, some of you may be getting married, or maybe you're going to a wedding in the springtime here. You're preparing for it, whatever. But wedding also represents long-term contracts, long-term commitments. So it could be a big commitment you've made to yourself, a commitment to a project. So let's pull all of this together, Aries. First of all, you've been really hoping to get to a place where you can have that breath of fresh air, where you can feel content in the work you're doing, and your emotional and material needs are met. So keep going with the project you've been focusing on. And one of the big messages that's come up for you guys over and over again is about making sure that you surround yourself with people who support your goals and support your visions, but also making sure to communicate those things, because you might be under the impression that somebody doesn't support you, but it could be that there's just miscommunication there. Reminder, Mercury is already in shadow at the time I'm recording this message, and like I said, it will go retrograde. I want to say it's the 26th. It might be a day or two later. Yeah, it's the 26th, I believe. So you're already, we're all needing to make sure we're communicating clearly, and it might be that you need to take a new approach with how you communicate, because a lot of times when Mercury goes retrograde, the normal way of saying something doesn't quite work. It doesn't quite land. But you are getting to this point where you feel fulfilled in the work you're doing, and you feel like, oh, okay, finally things are going in the direction I want. I love the work I'm doing. I love the people I'm surrounded by. So you are headed in that direction, and you are going to feel like you can do this for the long haul. So what I'm really getting for most Aries with this wedding card, like I said, for some of you, it could be you're going to a wedding, somebody in your family is getting married, or you're getting married, but I do feel like you're going to see this ability to really be committed to your future. I always ask you to think of those 3 areas of your life: your relationships, not just romantic, your health and fitness, and your career and finance. If you're retired, this would be your legacy, or if you're a student or somebody who works from home, this would be the things that you really are putting your energy into. So there is something on the horizon. Like I said, some of you may feel like, okay, now I can get married. Now I can be in that long-term relationship because I've finally been feel fulfilled in the area of my life that I've been seeking fulfillment, right? Maybe you've been seeking fulfillment in your career. So now you feel like you have time for a relationship, or maybe you've been seeking fulfillment within your relationships. And now you feel steady enough to really go focus on your work. We always want balance in all three areas of our life, like those three I mentioned. So just make sure you are keeping an eye on that as well, because in order to maintain that long-term commitment, that does require balance. All right. So let's keep going with the rest of your messages, Aries. I encourage you to listen to all 12 to see what else might bring you angel bumps or feel like it really resonates with you. And thank you guys so much for liking and sharing this video, hitting that subscribe button if you haven't. It really helps my channel grow. And I do read every single one of your comments. So I would love to hear what's going on for you. Are you getting married, or what are you committing to? What's the long-term commitment for you guys? All right, Taurus, what do we have for you guys for the rest of February? Your first card is the Three of Water, a celebration, a wedding. You get wedding too, like Aries. If you missed Aries, go listen. Graduation, birth announcement, or the need to have more fun. You know, that's the thing about, especially here in the Northern Hemisphere, in the winter time, it can be easy to get stuck in the doldrums, and we got to work hard to move out of that. So maybe you need to make a little more effort to bring fun into your daily schedule, even if you feel like, oh, it's too cold outside, or it's too gray, or there's too much work to do. Trying to really make that effort. I know we have a lot of amazing listeners in the Southern Hemisphere, Australia, New Zealand, and elsewhere. So maybe you haven't felt like you've been able to take advantage of the spring weather and get out there. So this is encouraging you to get outside and enjoy the weather. Let's see what your second card is. We have the Five of Air, mistakes, melodrama, and reassessment. Yes, again, a card of needing clarity. Like I said, by the time we wrap up February, we will be in full Mercury retrograde. Mercury is already in shadow, which means it's already hit the degree that it's going to retrograde back to. So communication has already begun to be a little less clear, or a little choppy, or a little needing to be done differently, right? So again, what I was telling the Aries, let me stop there. Let me get your third card and I'll go back to that. Don't let me forget. All right, you have the Ask card for your daily guidance. All right, I love that. The Ask card along with the communication. So what I was saying is that I was just telling the Aries that a lot of times people get frustrated with Mercury retrograde when really it's meant to help you see things from a different perspective. It's asking you to review what you know and see if you can take a different perspective. And a lot of times it comes with the way you communicate. And it could be that something that you always do a certain way when you're communicating just won't work this time. You've got to take a different approach. And I like to give the example of maybe you're somebody who likes to tell people things in person, but there's a particular thing you need to communicate that maybe the other person needs time to process, and it might actually be kinder to say it in a text or a voice memo or an email where they can process it privately before they respond. Okay. And we have an RE there. Anything with Mercury retrograde, we're looking at RE words: recovery, respond, reorganize, rethink, review. So those are things to keep in mind too. It could be that if you're finding things are not working, especially regarding communication, then you may need to ask your higher self and your spiritual team for new ways to approach it. So I want you to ask yourself, what's something that I always do? Is there another way I could do this that could communicate what I want differently? And maybe it's a different approach. It could literally be that you always do things through texting and email, and you're going to start doing things more through one-on-one conversations or through voice memos so that they can hear the inflection of your voice. Maybe some of you do a lot of writing and it's time to take it into a podcast format or take it into a video format. So that's another way to communicate differently, but ask for these loud and clear signs. I feel like, it sounds like it's a little bit of a mixed message when at the beginning it's like, okay, well, you're celebrating or you need to have more fun, but it could be that maybe you're not clear on what is fun for you. Has that ever been something you've considered? It's like, well, I want to go have fun, but I don't really know what that is. And sometimes it's because the thing that you used to think was fun isn't that fun anymore. You've outgrown it. been there, done that. Like that's a lot of times we'll see that with either a full moon cycle, which we're in at the time I'm recording this. We will have the new moon on the 17th. So we'll be in the building phase by the end of the month. But asking yourself that question, do I really love doing this as much as I used to do it? Is it worth the energy? And that was a big message we were getting at the beginning of February too. Are the things I'm putting energy into, are they being reciprocated? There's another RE word there. So ask yourself that. And if they're not being reciprocated, maybe you just need to communicate differently. Like I said, if you're saying, I always tell my husband that I need this, or I always tell my kids or my boss, and they never listen. Maybe there's a new way to approach that and ask for that support. And again, we have that ask card that would help you find that opportunity to do it differently. And again, bringing in that fun to your day-to-day activities. That goes for all 12 signs. All right. Thank you, Taurus, for liking and sharing. I read every single one of your comments. So let me know, what are you doing for fun for the rest of February? What are you asking for? And definitely hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. I really appreciate it. It helps me out a lot. And Gemini, what do we have for you guys for the rest of February? Your first card is the Ego card. Didn't we get this with you recently? Archangel Jophiel, a false sense of entrapment, being overly focused on material things, negative or fear-based thoughts. So yeah, it's a card of reminding you to watch your thoughts, especially when we have Mercury retrograde. Mercury rules you guys. Mercury rules Gemini, and it rules communication. It rules our mind and our thoughts. So we do need to be careful, all of us, with not allowing ourselves to go too much into fear-based thinking. We want to try to focus on love-based thoughts, which can be hard to do if you're feeling in a place of fear, but let's bring in some clarification here. And like I said, I do bonus messages at the end for even more clarity. Renewal, reflection, self-evaluation, and rebirth. Yeah, I think with all these RE here, this is the third sign I've done so far in this video, and we're getting a lot about Mercury retrograde. Mercury is already in shadow. Mercury retrograde deals with anything RE, and by the end of February, we will have Mercury retrograde. So you're going to be asked to rethink things, relaunch things, review things. Let's pull it all together after we get your daily guidance card, which is be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself. You know, I'm getting some really big similar themes so far here. I'm only on Gemini, and I'm already getting this big theme around asking yourself, do you feel trapped in something you're doing, something that's supposed to be fun or you're supposed to love, and it's just not working anymore? Do you need a renewal of that energy so that you enjoy it again? And can be honest with yourself, why are you doing it? Are you doing it because you're trying to prove something to somebody else? Are you doing it because you feel like you're stuck? Getting honest with why you're doing something, why you're putting energy into something can really help you overcome any of these fear-based thoughts. And one of the things that I like to remind all 12 signs when we're reviewing relationships, when we're reviewing our health and fitness, when we're reviewing our career and finances, if you're retired, reviewing your legacy, or as a student, reviewing where you're headed, these are things that we have to ask ourselves, did I subconsciously agree to these circumstances? And if I did, how can I change that? Am I really trapped in this situation? Of course, it's no, you're not. It's an illusion. And if you're catching yourself saying the word should a lot, that's probably a good sign right there. Well, I should do that because that's the way you do it. I should do that because that's the way I was raised. I should do that because that's what my family expects of me. Those are the kinds of things that we want to review. It doesn't mean you run out and make this huge change right away. In fact, I don't encourage that during a retrograde anyways, but it is that chance to be honest with yourself. Are you really happy? Are you really enjoying the things that you're doing for fun, for work, for health, all those things? Are there better options, you know? And I do think that sometimes we get stuck in a pattern that is familiar, even though we're unhappy. And this comes up whenever I do relationship readings a lot. A lot of people think that the loneliest thing is to be all alone. Well, I know there's a lot of people out there who love being alone, that they're much more confident and enjoy a single lifestyle. But also there are a lot of people that are in relationships that are lonely because there's not that communication there. There's something missing. And maybe there's a need for a renewal in the love that attracted the people in the first place. Of course, it doesn't always have to be romance. It could just be something that really got you excited about a project you're doing for work or just for a hobby. You're not feeling as excited anymore. Maybe you need to take a different approach. Maybe you're putting too many standards on you. The thing that's coming to mind for me is that growing up, I showed horses. And when I got older, I found that I didn't love horse shows anymore. I think I just realized that what I was really in it for was the time with the horses and the experience of being with the horses than for the competition. And I had to admit to myself that I didn't really want to do horse shows anymore. And it was kind of a letdown because it's like, oh, I didn't even realize that phase of my life was over. But once I owned the fact that I don't have to do that to be able to enjoy horses, it really changed my relationship. So again, we're doing all these REs. I just want you to ask yourself, are there certain pressures you're putting on yourself? This be honest with yourself card is the one I'm wanting you to focus on the most, especially when there are fear-based thoughts coming up. And can you flip the script? That's what Mercury retrograde is always asking us to do, is flip the script, take a different approach, say things differently, word things differently. Ask yourself, is there another way to do this? And remember that there's always many ways to approach something. And if you're not seeing it, maybe the Mercury retrograde is what will reveal that to you, okay? Because normally it's the full moon cycles that will reveal things, but sometimes it's the retrograde, it's the reviewing things. And I always say hindsight is one of the most powerful tools for getting signs from your spiritual team, because you can review signs and review your past, and you can have those aha moments. All right, Gemini, so let me know, what are you reviewing in February? What are things that you are ready to be honest with yourself about if you feel like sharing? I read every single one of your comments. And thank you for liking and sharing this video, hitting that subscribe button. It really, really helps my channel out. And I love connecting with you guys that way. All right, moving on to Cancer. What do we have for Cancer for the rest of February? First, we have the Knight of Air card. Intelligent, decisive, idealistic. Events moving at a fast pace. Take time to carefully review, RE, your options. We've had so many RE words. Creative solutions. Yes, of course, with the Mercury retrograde, you're always going to want to take time to review your options. You're going to want to look for creative solutions. Let's see what your next card is. Cancer, Nine of Earth. Contentment, luxury, and independence. Love it so much. And then your third card is the Go For It card. That's exciting. Go for it. Yeah, I think that you're in a position to really enjoy yourself and be independent. And there's a little bit of not wanting to disrupt the peace that I'm feeling for Cancer. So let's pull all this together. There are going to be a lot of opportunities coming through, a lot of communication coming through for Cancers between now and the end of the month. And one of the things that I always invite you to do is ask if there's a way to respond differently, because we're looking for those RE words when we have Mercury in retrograde or in shadow, which it already is in shadow. Shadow means that it's, if it's entering shadow, it's at the degree that it will retrograde back to. If it's exiting shadow, it's still heading back to the degree it's stationed retrograde. So it's a much longer period than people realize. That's why it feels like it's always happening. But you're always being asked to say, is there a different way that I can communicate something? And also sometimes I feel like it's a reminder that you don't have to respond right away. If you get an invitation or you get an offer, you are entitled to ask for more time before you give your response. RE, may I sleep on this? Could I have a few days to think about this? These are things that are going to be really important for Cancers between now and the end of the month. Because with this Nine of Earth card, although it's normally a card of, really feeling confident in your environment, it's also, are you willing to disturb your peace? And as a Cancer sun sign myself, we love being at home. We love being in our shell and cozy and feeling safe and secure. So sometimes an offer comes through where you're like, do I really want to disrupt the peace by taking up that offer? And if your heart lights up at the idea, then you're getting the answer, go for it. If you get excited, it's worth disrupting the peace a little bit. And a little bit around resources here, because it is an earth card. It may be that you're deciding, I'm going to go ahead and invest in something that's going to bring me more security, more luxury, more excitement in my future. And so this would be a card of less is more. Maybe it is not, that's not what the card means, but this is a message of maybe you are cutting back on how often you're doing something or how much of something you're getting so that you can have that higher quality item, right? So go for it. If your heart lights up at the opportunity, just make sure you're taking your time considering all the options there, right? So if you do get multiple invitations or multiple offers, or even you get multiple ideas, because that could be very well something that comes through. With Mercury and Pisces, pay attention to your dreams. This goes for everybody. You may be getting a lot of ideas in your dreams, and it could be a little hard to decide which idea to really focus on. So take your time, review all your options, and in fact, go back and look at what's worked for you in the past in those 3 key areas of your life that I always talk about: your relationships, not just romantic, your health and fitness, and your career and finance, which would be legacy or future projects, whether you're retired or a student. Please keep those things in mind when you're looking for what's worked, what's a new approach. Is it worth disrupting my peace and really investing in something? Again, if your heart lights up, it's that feeling of excitement in your heart, the thing that gets you out of bed early in the mornings because you're excited to go do it. You're getting the go for it card. I love this, Cancers. Let me know, what are you going to go for in February? I read every single one of your comments, and I really appreciate it when you like and share the video. Hit that subscribe button. It really helps my channel grow. And so, yeah, let me know. What are you going for? I'm excited about this, Cancers. I want to hear what's going on for you guys. All right, Leos. What do we have for Leos for the rest of February? Well, your first card is the 8 of Water. A desire to move on, the search for something more meaningful, spiritual, and emotional growth. So something you're moving on from is what I'm feeling here. Something that you're kind of over. It's kind of boring for you. Your next card is the Magician card: manifestation, empowerment, and preparedness. Yep, you're ready to change things. You're ready to take things to a different level, to manifest something new. And let's get your third card before we pull it all together: release and surrender. You can't get clearer than this. All right, Leos, you guys, you're ready to move on. And like I always say, you got to think about those 3 areas of your life: your relationships. And this is not just romantic or family or boss or friends. This can be your relationship to yourself, to your health, to your work, to your projects, to your daily to-do list. So anything that pops up for you, February is going to be a great month to review that. What is something you're ready to move on from? And one of the ways that you can ask yourself is, do you feel bored with something? Because it could be that you just need to take your skills to a new level where you can get excited about it again. Something that used to really excite you doesn't excite you the way it used to, and now you're ready to go higher with it or move in a different direction entirely. With this Magician card, what I'm getting for Leos is there are some talents and there is some creativity that you could use to transform the area of your life that is a little out of balance or a little boring. I'm just going to say it. Maybe you're just kind of like, I'm so tired of doing this particular thing every day or every week or every month, right? How do I transform that so I'm not having to do it every time? With this release and surrender card, which again, we're now all the way into Leos. We started with Aries, and every single sign has gotten a card about releasing and reviewing. That's because we have Mercury in retrograde by the time we end the month. And this is always a time to review any words that start with RE and ask yourself, is it time to release and surrender to the change? A lot of times it's the fact that we don't want to admit to ourselves that we're feeling bored with something. We don't want to admit to ourselves that we're not feeling fulfilled, and sometimes we have to ask ourselves, is it something that we're not putting the energy into either, right? If you're not feeling emotionally fulfilled, there could be a way to change that. And sometimes it's changing your thinking. With Mercury retrograde, that is often what we're doing, right? Mercury rules our thoughts. So maybe you're not super happy. Like maybe you took a new job, but you don't love the commute. And so you're being asked to change the commute into something that you enjoy. Like maybe you're taking a different route, or you find a podcast that you get to listen to every day, or you, take a little extra time for your commute so you can stop and have a coffee on the way. There are things that you can do to kind of release the way that you view something and surrender to, but I do love my new job. I do love the money. I do love the opportunity. So maybe I need to review the way I look at this commute and find a way to transform it into something I look forward to every day, right? I mean, that was one of the joys of when podcasts became a big thing is, at least for me, having long commutes anywhere became something I look forward to. I was like, yay, I get to listen to my podcast uninterrupted, right? Which, by the way, I am now available on all the podcast platforms with this show. It's called Messages from Your Inner Circle with Devin Dewar, and it's on all of the major podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio, and YouTube Music. So if you do want to listen to podcasts instead of the YouTube version, here you go. But definitely appreciate having you here too. And I want you to ask yourself if maybe there is some circumstances you might have to surrender to in order to get the outcome you desire. And it is finding a way to feel emotionally fulfilled, but transforming anything that feels strenuous. So let me know what that is for you guys. Is there something that just feels tedious or boring? And what are some fun ways that you might be able to change your mindset around that? Because that's what we're really all being asked to do. Wherever you have Leo in your chart, I didn't say this at the beginning. I said listen to all 12 signs because you have all 12 signs in your chart. But what I didn't say is you can learn what house you have that sign into. So for me, Leo is my 8th house. So then these messages would resonate with me a lot around 8th house topics. So I would encourage you to think about that as well, Leos. And let me know, what do you feel like you're willing to surrender to in order to have that emotional outcome you desire? I'd love to hear in the comments. I read every single one. And thank you guys for liking and sharing this video and hitting that subscribe button. It really helps my channel grow. Thank you guys for being here. And moving on to Virgos. Virgos, what do we have for you guys for the rest of February? Ooh, Ace of Fire, an exciting new opportunity, career advancement, change your life now. That's fun and exciting, Virgos. I love that, especially since we have your eclipse coming up in March. Then we have the Queen of Water card, loving, giving, and psychic. Yes, I know so many Virgos that are super psychic. A lot of them don't give themselves credit for it, but they are. And then giving and receiving, activating that giving and receiving cycle. All right, Virgos, for the rest of February, what I'm seeing here, pulling this all together, is that there's something you're really excited to get started with. And you are actually going to be sharing some things with the world where people are going to look at you as the Queen of Water. So this is you. You guys, people are looking at you going, wow, this Virgo is so giving with their talents, so loving, so amazing. And they're trusting you. They're asking for your input on things. They're saying things like, what do you see for me with this particular situation? What do you think this outcome will be? They're coming to you for this. And then you have this giving and receiving card here. And what I feel like is going on is maybe it's time to really engage in that bartering type thing with something you're wanting to do, something you're excited about, where you're offering something, a talent of yours, in exchange for something that would help you to feel supported. The example I go back to all the time is when I closed my small business consulting service of 16 years, where I was doing accounting and bookkeeping and tax returns. I started I would purchase a table at the local Healing Arts Festival, and I would offer some of my readings for free in exchange for emails. And that's how I began building a client list and a newsletter. And I started meeting with the other vendors, and I would give them a reading for free and they would give me one for free, and it created a network. And I feel like for a lot of Virgos, what you're being asked to do is share your talent with the world, but allow yourself to receive something in return. A lot of you haven't been sharing your gifts with the world for fear of it not being recognized, but it's time for you, the world, to see it. And how do you get seen? It's the old adage, if you want to be an actor, act. Go to the local theater and start acting so that you can step into that energy of being an actor. If you want to be an artist, be an artist. Go sign up for an art show or be in an art class with people or a supporting art group. There's all these ways you can do that, and then you can begin activating that giving and receiving cycle. And the main message here for Virgos is just keep in mind how people view you. And this is something that I don't think you always realize. I do think Virgos get a bad rap a lot of the time for being so focused on the details, but you're able to organize them in a way that helps everybody else. And so for you, it's just so easily done. And when they see that you bring that compassion to it, that's when they're like, wow, Virgo knows what they're talking about, right? And they're not going to know that you know what you're talking about until you show them. So this is a card of getting started with that and activating that giving and receiving cycle. And I just got angel bumps all down my right leg, if that means anything for you. So a lot of you, it's really, again, like, how do we know how amazing you are unless you show us? And if you're saying, well, I don't know anybody who would want to purchase this from me or buy this reading for me, well, go put yourself in that environment where you can do it for free in exchange for something. Do some bartering there. And that can be really valuable for building your confidence, for building your contacts, and for just getting yourself excited about it and surrounding yourself with like-minded people. And this could be in any area of your life. Again, this could be starting a new relationship. This could be starting a new workout routine where you're with a new group of people that you really enjoy. But you'll know what this is for you. Let it guide you. I really think this is encouraging you to remember how powerful you are, Virgos. You've been through the ringer with those eclipses. You've got another one coming, but I really feel this next one coming for you guys is that final reminder of how amazing you are and how much the world needs to see your talents. So let me know, what are you starting? What giving and receiving cycle are you activating for the rest of February, Virgos? I read every one of your comments and I really appreciate it. Helps my channel grow. Liking, sharing, and subscribing does as well. So thank you guys so much for being here. And moving on to the Libras. Libras, for the rest of February, you have the Hermit card. It says spend time in quiet meditation, spiritual teaching, and self-discovery. Interesting. Are you planning a little retreat or anything? Queen of Air, brilliant, experienced, and humorous. That is you guys, Libra, for sure. And then your daily guidance card before we pull it together is the heart chakra. Yep. It's the heart chakra. So I do see for a lot of Libras, spending a lot more time going within for the rest of February is really going to benefit you. All of us benefit from that, especially when we have the sun in Pisces. It's a great time to really go deeper into the subconscious and ask yourself the harder questions, but also get some clarity on some things and being able to see some patterns there. And I actually feel like one of the things you're going to be doing is connecting with your higher self on a much deeper level. I feel like for some of you, you've received some information recently that's caused you to really ask yourself, what are my goals? What does my heart really want? What are my values around this thing? And you don't have a lot of clarity on that yet. And that's what you're seeking. I think a lot of you are seeking clarity. This could be something as simple as, do I really want to go on that trip this summer, to as big as maybe I do want to try to get in a relationship again. I've thought I was done with that world and things that my heart being broken in the past, just not worth it. And now your heart's saying, hey, actually, let's go for it again. There's something I want there. And with the Mercury retrograde that we're all experiencing by the end of this month, it is that time to ask yourself, am I stuck in a thought process because of heartbreak in the past? And is there a way to look at this differently? And with the Hermit card, there's always a way to do that introspection. I also like to remind everybody that it's really valuable to do some past life review during the sun in Pisces. And this is where we ask ourselves about patterns or ancestral patterns that have brought through into this lifetime, that it's time for us to shift with that. Did you know that most of us are here for ancestral healing, and we're not even aware of it until we reach a certain age of our life and we look back and see we've had some repeated patterns in our life that our ancestors shared as well. It may be different people, different circumstances, different locations or topics, but it's a pattern, right? And so you're asking yourself, why Why am I repeating this pattern? And can I go higher with my thoughts and my communication so that I can really follow my heart? So I think for a lot of Libras, you may be saying no to a lot of invitations. Maybe you had some trips planned that got canceled and you were actually relieved by that. I don't know if you've ever had that happen, but I have, where I didn't know that I was going to feel relief over something. It wasn't that I was dreading it, but something got canceled and I went, oh, I feel relieved. Why do I feel relieved that I'm not having to be a part of that? Well, a lot of times it's because I was then able to do some introspection and do some higher work. And I would ask myself, why do I feel relieved that thing got canceled or that didn't go through the way I thought I wanted it to? Well, now I know communicating with my higher self, because there was some healing that needed to happen there and there was a better way to do it. And maybe I'm more open to it than I thought I was. Okay. So I think this is a card of asking yourself, am I very shut down and closed-minded about something? And maybe there's a way to open my heart to it. I'm excited to see what that is for you guys, Libras. Let me know what you might be changing your mind about in February, or at least thinking about, because your heart's asking you to. Your heart is asking you to open up to the new exciting ideas. All right, Libras, I read every single one of your comments. Thank you so much for liking, sharing, and subscribing. I love connecting with you guys this way. All right, moving on to the Scorpios. Scorpios, your first card for the rest of February is the Three of Fire. That's exciting. Abundance, things looking very good. Have patience at this time. Make long-term plans. Yes, Scorpios, I know you're always being asked to have patience, especially with the people around you, especially with your team. Let's see what your second card is, Scorpios. You have the World card. Accomplishment, celebration, completion. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. You are getting out into the world in a bigger way, Scorpios. And your third card, before we pull it all together, is the Daydream card. Oh, I love this. I love this, especially with Mercury and Pisces. A beautiful time to do it. I just started a new dream series in my online community. And we're going to be talking about it. At the time I'm doing this recording, I've only released one video, but there's going to be at least 4, and then there's going to be some supportive stuff. And one of the big things that I emphasize is daydreaming is a valid way to receive divine guidance. A lot of people don't think it is because they just think they're making it up. But if you're somebody who has a hard time remembering your dreams, maybe you should practice daydreaming more. And I feel like we should all practice daydreaming. It's a form of visualization, but without quite the intent that visualization has. That's a topic for another video there, but ask yourself, have you allowed yourself to daydream about where you see yourself in the world? And something that you've been working with your spiritual team, and you may have been working with others, a collaborative project there, but something that you've been working towards, you can see it growing. You can see it in the distance, and you're being asked to have patience for things to get together so that the world can see how accomplished you are and they can see the gifts you have to bring. But one of the best ways to bring that energy in is to spend time daydreaming about it. And for those of you who are watching this on the video, which by the way, on Spotify, YouTube Music, and I think maybe some of the other platforms, I don't know. You can watch the video version in case you're watching this on one of the podcast platforms. This card right here, and for those of you who can't see it, they're actually daydreaming too. In this Three of Fire, they're looking out into the distance at this beautiful kingdom, dreaming about what it's going to be like once they finally get there, right? So they're going to have to get them go out into the world with their creative projects to get where they want to go. But if you're feeling stuck, use this Mercury retrograde energy and this Mercury and Pisces energy to daydream. And I want all 12 signs to do this. I'm even taking this note for myself. I don't have any well, I have Uranus in Scorpio, but I listen to all 12 signs and I see how it affects me. So as a Cap rising, Scorpio is my 11th house. I'm going to be daydreaming about things that are 11th house topics using this energy, right? And seeing what comes through. So let yourself stare out the window and daydream, Scorpios. Let me know what you're daydreaming about. I want to know what's your favorite time of day to daydream, and what are you going to spend time daydreaming about for the rest of February? I read every single one of your comments, and thank you guys so much for liking, sharing, and subscribing. All right, we're moving on to the Sages. Oh, my candle went out. I'm going to get you guys a new candle. I wonder what sign it went out on. I wasn't paying attention, so I don't know which sign it went out on. If you know what sign the candle went out on, let me know in the comments. I feel like that was an extra message for whoever's sign it went out on. A sign of completion, right? All right, now we have a new candle for Sagittarius, it's so appropriate since you're a fire sign to have a new candle for your sign. And with Saturn and Neptune trining you in Aries, right? Okay, so what's your first card for the rest of February, Sagittarius? You have the Six of Water. Memories from your history or childhood, issues regarding children, romanticizing the past. Okay, we're going to pull all this together here, but maybe there is something regarding a relationship that is holding you back because of something from the past, right? Let's see what your second card is here for the rest of February. You have the Justice card, fairness, the law, and karma. And I feel like this is, making a decision too. I know that's not always a literal reading of this card, but it's like you need to finally commit to something. I feel like you're getting stuck in things from the past because of, they didn't turn out the way you wanted, or you're afraid that they're going to end up that way again. But you need to go ahead and make the decision to commit to something, right? And I feel like it says the law card here too, or karma. There may be something where maybe you're not being quite fair to yourself or to someone around you because you're not making this decision. Does that make sense? Where sometimes by staying in a holding pattern, it becomes unfair, and that's where you have this card of fairness saying, is it fair for you to keep this relationship on hold? Is it fair for you to stay in this job when you know your heart's not in it? Is it fair for you to not have this conversation because you just don't want to have to deal with it because in the past it hasn't gone well? Let's see what your third card is before we pull all this together. Innocence. Yeah, innocence. This is reminding you that God loves you the way you are, and you can say your higher self if that doesn't resonate with you, but you are innocent in your decisions because you're doing the best you can. And when you look back at the past, I'll switch this so I can look at you guys. You're looking at things from the past, and I feel like, you're kind of kicking yourself for staying in a situation too long, for putting up with things from other people. And this is letting you know, hey, you were doing the best you could with the information you had at the time. And I want you to remind yourself of that. All of us in hindsight with 2020 vision can look at things and go, I should have done this. I should have said that. I should not have put up with this, right? We can should all over ourselves. But we're saying, no, you were innocent. You were doing the best you could at the time. And especially with the information you had at the time. And maybe you had information that was asking you to see that it wasn't working out, but you weren't ready to process it. And you weren't ready to see it. And so you want to give yourself the blessing and the compassion that you deserve, that, hey, just because that's how things were, it doesn't mean where it's going. Now, the other thing with this Justice card, again, is I am hearing for certain Sagittarius out there that it's not fair to yourself or those around you if you just continue to not move forward with something because of the past. The easiest way to say this is saying, telling a person you're in a relationship, I don't want to get married because I've been broken in the past. I've been let down in the past in marriage, or I don't want to be a part of a team creative project because I always do all the work. Or, I don't want to leave this job because I don't want to have to start all over again. That's be a relationship to yourself. Ask yourself if that's really fair, and ask yourself, is it really true? Because I feel like with this Mercury retrograde energy coming in for all of us, if you spend that time reviewing things from the past, you're going to realize where it's really you that's holding yourself back. And I don't mean this to call you out or be harsh or anything. I'm just saying maybe there is something you kind of need to push through by the end of February to keep moving forward. And if there's any self-blame or there's anything around the way a relationship, a job, or anything went in the past that's holding you back from making that decision, ask yourself, am I really being fair to myself about that? And your spiritual team is saying you're not being fair because you were innocent at the time. It's, either you literally were innocent, you had no idea, or if you did have, like, let's just use the example, like you had a sneaking suspicion someone was cheating on you, but you stayed in the relationship. And now you look back on it and you're like, why did I put up with that? That's being too hard on yourself, right? You weren't ready to go through that process. Eventually you did. Eventually you made the right decision, but is it fair to bring that into your new relationship or never have a new relationship because of it? Probably not. That's what I feel like is coming in, is that you're not being very fair to yourself by staying in that position. So a little bit of a different reading for you guys than the other signs, but definitely listen to all 12 signs to see what resonates. And let me know, what do you feel like is unfair for you right now? And how can you review that and rethink that with the Mercury retrograde? That's another thing, is if you feel like something was unfair, maybe there's another way to phrase that, and approach it differently so that you can move forward. All right, let me know in the comments, Sagittarius. I read every single one. I really appreciate you liking and sharing this video. And let's move on to the Capricorns. Capricorns, for the rest of February, you have 8 of Fire. Events moving at a fast pace, delays are over, many things happening at once. Yes, Capricorns, ready to get going, huh? And then your second card is the Six of Air. Relief, hope, and moving on. Since I almost said sick there, I kind of did say sick. Maybe some of you have been dealing with an illness, or someone in your family has, and now you're seeing that healing and things are getting easier and you're moving away from that. So I am seeing healing coming in for you or those around you. And then your daily guidance card is joy. Yep. And the joy is bringing the healing. My heart just leapt with joy just seeing this card. So that's super exciting. Let's pull all this together. So I feel like for Capricorns, you're going to have so many balls in the air that you're managing, but you're not going to mind. You guys don't mind hard work anyways, but I feel like what this is just, it's so exciting and fun that you don't mind the pace. And it's actually something that you're thriving with, Capricorns. And, during your season, when the sun was in your sign, during your birthday season, or depending if you're sun, moon, or rising, but listening here, but it was a little harder to see where things were headed. There was a kind of a waiting period there. And I feel like for a lot of Capricorns, for most of January and the first part of February, you had these ideas, you had these balls in the air, but you were kind of like, how do I get them like really moving in a way that makes life easier? And I think that's what the Six of Air is saying. It's like you finally figured out how to take a lot of your creative projects and a lot of your ideas and put them together in a way where things are calmer. So while it's been busy and exciting, and it will be, it's also going to be at a pace that you really like. It's going to be something that is, sustainable at the pace that you're moving through all of this. And maybe something that used to feel like such an ordeal. Even if you liked doing it, it was an ordeal. Now you're going, that's not a big deal anymore. I know how to do this. I'm confident in the direction we're headed. And so we're moving on to calmer shores. And I think if you really have that visual in mind for you, you're going to see so much joy coming in through the end of the month and really through the year, Capricorns. And this is wherever you have Capricorn in your chart, if you're listening to all signs, but focusing on that joy. And actually the joy is the motivation. So one of the sayings that I started my business with was pursue joy daily. Are you doing that, Capricorns? Keep going with that. Whatever that you are pursuing that brings you joy, that's what brings you these calmer shores. That's what helps you see, wow, I really am taking the things I've been doing and aligning them in a way that's calmer and more productive, and allows me to really have joy in my day-to-day world and life. All right. So let me know, Capricorns, what are you doing to move on to calmer shores in February? What are you doing to bring joy into your life every single day? I read every single one of your comments. So thank you so much for liking, sharing, and subscribing. And let's move on to the Aquas. Aquarius, what do we have for you guys for the rest of February? At the time I'm recording this, we're still in your birthday season, so I hope you've been celebrating all month long. And your first card for the rest of February is Eight of Air, an illusion of being trapped, a lack of self-confidence, and afraid to take action. This is actually something I do not read this card literally. I see you deciding to leave a group of people behind, or a group of to-dos behind, or a group of projects behind. There's something you're breaking away, Aquas, and I think there's something around your birthday season here. I'm going to pull it all together. Let's get your other cards before I go too far with that. Your second card is Ten of Water. Yep. I knew it. Family, love, and blessings. Family, love, and blessings. This is your focus for the rest of February. We're going to pull it all together here in a minute. Let's get your daily guidance card. Aquas, we have perfect timing. It's the perfect timing for you to leave this group behind. For those of you who are just listening, the first card, Eight of Air, shows a unicorn breaking away from the herd, charging away, leaving that herd behind. But this unicorn is confident that this is the right direction to head. So let's pull it all together. So something happened over your birthday season, Aquas, or is about to happen if you're listening to this before the sun moves into Pisces, where you're just going to have that moment of I'm breaking free, right? So on February 17th, we have the new moon, we have the eclipse, and we have the Chinese New Year, where we move from the snake to the fire horse, right? Literally a horse which represents freedom. So there is something that you have realized during your birthday season, Aquas, that you want to be free from it. You want to be free. You're like, can no longer be held back by this particular thing. Now, because this is an air card and you are an air sign, and Mercury is retrograding, which the rules communication, and air is communication, I think you're leaving behind something around communication. You know, maybe you're changing the way you do it. Maybe you're choosing not to communicate with a person or a group of people. I feel like it's group, but of course you're Aquarius, so you're involved with the collective energy anyways. There is something that you're changing and shifting and leaving behind. You're moving in a new direction, but it's bringing you this emotional security that you've been seeking, right? A lot of you have been feeling like you're not sure you can trust certain relationship. You've been feeling a little ungrounded when it comes to love, when it comes to relationships, when it comes to emotional security. And you're doing the things that help you feel emotionally secure by breaking away. So it could be, you're leaving a job behind where the boss is just so all over the place that you feel like every day you go into work, you're walking on thin ice, right? You're walking on eggshells with this guy or girl, whoever, gender doesn't matter. So think about that. Maybe you're saying, I'm going to go to a place where I'm going to work somewhere where I don't have to wonder what mood my boss is in. It could go for a personal relationship too. You're choosing to change a romantic relationship or change a friendship because you just don't know what you're going to get. And you're saying, I'm moving away from that energy. I don't want to live like that anymore. I don't want to walk on eggshells in my own home or in my own office or whatever that is for you. So I want you to ask yourself, what's the first thing that comes to mind when you think about that? And then also for some of you, it isn't necessarily that you're leaving people behind as much as you're saying, I need to change the way I communicate so I feel secure doing it. So that could be something where you're pushing yourself to try something new with communication, but it's a little harder. It brings to mind when I started my YouTube channel in 2020, and I really wanted to just have a podcast and not do anything on video, but I was teaching journaling workshops, which is very visual. So you need to have video. And I thought, oh, well, then I can just stay off camera and I can just show the journal. But I realized that when I really pushed myself, and I had to take a YouTube course to do it, and put myself on camera, it shifted the entire energy of the video. And that I had to own the fact that while I might not feel entirely emotionally secure doing it, it was what was necessary. I had to leave behind this thought process so that I could hide behind the camera when I was communicating. So I want you to think about that because it is the perfect time to take that action. It is that perfect time to leave behind that old way of thinking, And some of you Aquas, I feel what it is. You're saying, well, somebody else already does that, or everybody does it that way. So why do I need to do it? Well, you're going to bring your own uniqueness to it, Aquas. You already are so unique. So you're already, just by doing it, going to be doing it differently. So if you are, questioning doing something differently with your communication, ask yourself, do you need to push past any emotional insecurities in order to get there? And now is the time to do it. I want to know what you're doing. Are you starting a YouTube channel, Aquas, so that you're finally going to be seen on camera? Are you finally starting that book or that podcast? Let me know in the comments. It doesn't have to be anything like that, but I do see a lot of you making big changes because you realize for your next birthday, you don't want to have that issue there for you anymore. You're making these changes. You're saying, by my next birthday, this is not going to be an issue anymore. So let me know what's going on for you guys. I read every single comment. Thank you so much for liking, sharing, and subscribing. And let's move on to the Pisces. Pisces, what do we have for you guys for the rest of February? You may be listening to this in your birthday season, so happy birthday. I hope you celebrate all season long. And let's see what your first card is for the rest of February. You have the 10 of Earth. A very happy home life, financial security, finding things in the little things, finding luxury in the little things. No, magic, sorry. I don't have my reading glasses on and I did not read that well through the camera, but finding magic in the little things. Yes, so true. Bringing that material security to your world by finding magic in the little things, right? Your second card is the 2 of Air, indecision, avoidance, and confusion. Okay, yeah, I do think you are wanting to bring more material security into your world. Pisces, I'm getting some messages, but you have to decide to do something first, especially regarding your communication. Let's see what your daily guidance card is before we bring it all together. New partner. I just got angel bumps for you guys all down my back. So this is not just romantic, okay? Because you might be thinking, I don't need a new partner. I'm not looking for love, or I'm in a happy relationship, whatever that is for you. So you'll think about it with it could be romance for you guys though, because I've been getting a lot of stuff about Pisces meeting new people, meeting their person. But if that's not what it is for you, there is somebody else coming in for you. But you've got to make the decision with your communication. So let's pull all this together. First, what I see is for a lot of Pisces is the daily grind is getting to you. You're ready to find material security without so much effort. I think it's we all have to put effort into things to manifest, right? You don't get it just by sitting on the couch, but it's like you're realizing, okay, I've done it this way for so long. Neptune and Saturn are out of your sign now. It's like, what's a new way to do this where it's not so draining or not such a huge time commitment or financial commitment? It could be that. So I think you're asking yourself for the rest of February, what's something you could do to ease that burden? And I think for a lot of you, you need to decide to do something. I think for some of you, you need to pitch an idea to somebody. It feels like you need to ask somebody to collaborate with you, or you need to maybe seek support for the work you're doing. Maybe you're outsourcing something that's taking too much time. And it could just be that you just need a buddy, like you need an accountability partner, because that could be what this is too. If you're wanting to start a new project and it's going to take a lot of work, maybe you're joining a group who are doing similar things so that you have that support there to bounce ideas off of. Like, it was so popular for the longest time. I don't feel like I'm hearing it as much anymore, but those like mastermind groups where, people all have kind of similar goals and you're getting together once a week or once a month to share ideas and to support each other so that you don't feel all alone in this thing that you're doing. So I do think for a lot of you, though, there is literally somebody new that you're partnering with. For a lot of you, it feels like it's not a new person, like it's not somebody you're meeting for the first time. It's somebody that you're like, oh, let's do this new project together. Maybe you're starting a new hobby with somebody, taking a class with somebody. For some of you, it is actually a brand new person coming in, but I feel like that's more for the people who are out there seeking their person, their romantic partner, or their new BFF. But for those of you who it's not, it feels like somebody's already in your life that you're saying, all right, let's go ahead and do this collaboration. Let's go ahead and take this trip together. Or, hey, come over here and help me with this like remodeling project I'm doing in my garage, whatever that is. I feel like there is something around there. With this material security, this also came through for some of you Pisces. This may hit really hard. It does feel like you're partnering with somebody on something to save resources too. Like it's something that you could hire a company to go do, but you've got somebody in your life who's like, I'll help you do it. Let's start doing it on Saturdays. It'll be a fun project together. And you're like, oh, wow. Well, now we can get creative. We can take our time and it's not going to cost me so much money. I mean, maybe it's literally your partner saying, I'll do that with you, honey. Let's try it, right? So that's exciting for you, Pisces. What is this thing that you're trying to make a decision about? Because we have the air card, you got to communicate this thing. You got to decide. You got to communicate. You got to tell your partner, hey, let's do this. I'm ready to do this. And you could also just ask your partner, what do you think? That might be where you get the clarity too. Is not that you have to have somebody doing it with you, but by just bouncing ideas off of somebody that you trust and love, you're like, oh, wow, this is the way to handle this. Okay. So friends, family, loved ones, even just joining a group of people, I think that's really going to help you bring in more of that material security and a more peaceful day-to-day workload and activity load. So I love that for Pisces. I read all your comments, so let me know what that is for you. Thank you for liking and sharing, and happy birthday season to you guys. Let's move into the bonus messages here. All right. One quick reminder, linked below is my free event happening Tuesday, February 18th. If you can't make it live, all you have to do is register and I will send you the recording. But we're going to be talking about how to stop missing the signs from your spiritual team. Your spiritual team is your guardian angels, your passed away loved ones, your higher self, spirit guides, and ascended masters, and more. And we're going to talk about 5 ways to stop missing the signs from them. And I am temporarily reopening my How to Connect to Your Spiritual Team class. It is a one-time opening for 2026, so we'll be talking more about how you can join because that registration also closes on the 28th. But I would love to see you there for the free event, so just make sure you register at the link below so that you can get it. You can either join me live or you can get the recording for later. All right, let's move into your bonus messages. So for the present energy, we have the 10 of air. Endings, recovery, there's your RE, and freedom. So this is the present energy for the rest of February messages, and we are hearing that Mercury retrograde energy come through again. This is a card of communication. We literally have the word recovery on there. So a lot of us are recovering from some news, from some challenges, from some things that have happened since the beginning of the year. And we're kind of trying to take a nice deep breath and say, okay, well, this is finally this hard, challenging thing. It's over with, right? And for some of us, the communication has been of endings that have been sad, that have been upsetting. For some of it's been, really challenging to have that communication with people around us, things on the news. And, we're just being asked to take the rest of February to just review our emotions around that. And again, asking ourselves, can we communicate differently? I think that's one of the big things that I want all 12 signs to keep in mind with this Mercury retrograde is how can I communicate this differently, especially when it comes to something that's not working in a relationship, in a job, in a environment, in a group of people. How can I communicate this differently? That's going to be your prompt for the rest of February, especially with this Mercury retrograde. Now let's go on to the near future energy. 3 of air, sorrow, forgiveness, and healing. Yeah, I feel like for the rest of February, a lot of us are going to be going through a healing process over this 10 of air energy. So it's something that's already happened, but you're taking the rest of February to heal from it. Something shocking, something upsetting, something you saw on the news that caught you in a way you didn't expect it to. I don't know if you've ever been had one of those experiences where you found out somebody passed away that you didn't really know that well, but it really stayed with you. And though that's one of those things that it can take some time to heal. I actually had that happen only a few weeks ago. Somebody that I went to high school with, I did not know had passed away a couple years ago. I somehow came up in the weirdest way And boy, I was, super saddened by that I'm still sad about it, but I honestly, had not spoken to that person in many, many years, but yet I was just like, it's so weird to think that person isn't on this side of the realm, like, it's like, even now I'm like getting choked up about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, but I never talked to that person, I never interacted with that person. But, it's funny, every person we interact with is somehow part of our soul contract, and we make soul contracts to interact with the people. This was somebody I'd gone to school with since fourth grade. So yeah, I mean, it was a little bit of like, oh, well, there was that soul contract there that is now shifted, right? So anyways, for any of you, like, even if it's somebody that, maybe a celebrity, we've seen some celebrity deaths lately, that you admired their work, and it's just, it hits you in a way. And you could sit there and be practical with yourself and be like, why do I care this much? But, it is part of our energy, and we do have these soul contracts to participate. So if you felt a bond with a total stranger or a celebrity, there was a reason for that, right? So let's go into the near future card, the future card, to see what's happening after all this healing. We have the 10 of Fire. Yeah, this entire rest of February is about resting and recovery. It says overworked, stressed, and imbalanced. Now, a reminder that these messages are here to help you shift the energy and navigate things in the way that's in your highest interest. So this card is coming up to let you know that if you don't take the time to heal and address the heartbreak, you are going to face this risk of burnout. And that is one of the things with Mercury retrograde too. You may need to review your daily schedule and your workload and see if maybe you've taken on too much. A lot of times at the beginning of the year, we sign up for things thinking we're going to just take on the new year with all these big goals and commitments, and maybe it wasn't very practical. Maybe you're feeling really overworked. So this is a heads up that you can avoid this burnout energy. You can avoid this, but you've got to take a break, and you've got to rest and recover, and you've got to review what's worked and what hasn't, especially when it comes to communication from the past. Anything you've learned or anything you've said in the past that didn't quite, get the result you wanted, take the rest of February to review it, see what worked, see what didn't, and make some changes. Because I think for a lot of us, that's what's going to be revealed for the rest of the month is, I did take on too much, or I didn't say that in a way that really communicated what my heart wanted, or this communication I received made me realize something, another RE with Mercury retrograde, that my heart's not in this, or this isn't fair to me, and I need to change it, or else we're headed towards burnout, right? So you have the opportunity to avoid this burnout right now at the time you're hearing these messages. So let's get 2 actions to take that will give you actions to take right now to avoid that burnout. I just want to let you know, I love reading every single one of your comments. So you've heard me say it many times, but I really appreciate you liking, sharing, and subscribing. It really helps my channel out. So comment below with anything you think you might need to shift or heal from or review so that you can avoid that burnout. And let's get 2 actions for you to take starting right now at the time you're hearing these messages. So the first one is the Knight of Earth. The Knight of Earth, organized, responsible, and supportive. So we are definitely needing to get organized. And I have a kitten crying outside the door. Give me a second. Hello. All right. Parker is joining us in the background here. All right, had to let the kitten in there. So we have Knight of Earth. So the action to take here is organized, responsible, and supportive. So the action you can take to avoid this burnout energy here, you guys, is going to be taking responsibility for maybe having overcommitted, taking responsibility for your actions, especially regarding communication. Getting organized with things that you know are coming up for you that will support your health. And I'm not giving any kind of advice around health or fitness or medical, but supporting health in your mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual health. Okay. And so there are things you can do right now to support that so you don't get overworked. What's the first thing that comes to mind? It may be you need to take some things off your calendar, off your to-do list, off your expenditures. Maybe you're spending money on things that are just causing a lot of stress in your life. let's see what we can do to remove those things from our world so that we don't get overworked. So ask yourself that. That's your first action. How can you get organized, take responsibility, and do things that are supportive of your emotional, financial, and mental security? And then your second action to take, you guys, is going to be the Dreamer card. Beginning, believing, and protected. Beginning, believing, and protected. So this is an action card here. And of course, this would be the full card if you were using a tarot deck. So it's the beginning. It's starting something new. It's a new journey, but it's also a leap of faith because you're doing something you've never done before. And so you have to let your heart and your intuition guide you. And that can be a little stressful. If you look here on this card, for those of you watching, I'll describe it for those of you listening, the Knight of Earth, this person is grasping onto this coin with everything in her body. Like she's holding on to it so tightly. And sometimes that can mean that we're not moving forward for fear of what it's going to cost us. But the Dreamer card is not worried about the future cost of something. The Dreamer card is saying, I know this is what I want. This is my dream, and I'm going to go for it. And with a lot of the energy we have towards the end of the month, with Saturn now fully in Aries and the conjunction of Neptune and Saturn in Aries, I think you're going to realize the things that you used to think were really important, maybe they're not as important. And it's time to take that leap of faith towards the thing that's going to move you away from this burned out energy. Okay. You've been working so hard at a relationship, at a project, at a job, with something. And if you don't take the time now to take responsibility for your past actions and get clear on what helps you feel secure and what doesn't make you feel secure, then it's going to lead to that burnout energy. But you can do that. You can take responsibility. Mercury retrograde will help you do that. And the Dreamer card is saying, look, get excited about what's coming for you. And by rethinking the commitments you've made for 2026 and beyond, by reviewing what's worked and what hasn't, by asking yourself, what direction can I change? How can I change direction right now for the rest of February so that I don't end up in this burnout energy? I think you're going to see new possibilities you haven't even dreamt of. That's this Dreamer card too. I feel like you haven't even been able to dream of these new things coming in. So there is going to be a little bit of just blind faith, which is what this card is. It's like, I don't know what it's going to look like, but I know I don't want to end up in this burned energy, right, you guys? So get organized now. Use the rest of February. That's like in the Northern Hemisphere, we would be doing spring cleaning right now, right? I love using Mercury retrograde to clean out closets, get the garage cleaned up, get my garden ready for spring, all those things. So anything with an RE, if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling stressed, let's do some of that reorganization, reviewing, and cleaning out. And I think you will definitely see that you're being guided in the direction that's in your highest interest so that you can heal and you can avoid this burnout energy. So let me know, what are you going to reorganize for the rest of February? I really hope to see you at my free event or on the recording later. Just make sure you RSVP at the link below. That's the only way to get access to that. And as always, thank you so much for being here. And this was a really fun way to see what the rest of February is going to be. We got more exciting news coming for you soon. So I'll see you then. Bye, everybody.